Tonight on Joy News Prime, government to halt the exportation of food crops as it admits the seeming shortage on the market is because, quote, we let our guards down.
We lowered our guard a little bit. We felt that we had enough, so our neighboring countries kept transporting our food products across the borders. Before we could say jack, we were running into shortages.
We'll hear from the Deputy Agric Minister, who says measures have been adopted to avert any crisis and will take you to the market.
Yeah. Okay. Now on so. Anna, baby, I'm
Also tonight, redeem the sinking image. Former president of the Ghana Bar Association, Sam Okudzeto, agrees public confidence in the Bar Association has waned. He says members of the bar are inward-looking.
If the public will even rely on the lawyers, you understand, to be the vessel for justice, that at least will even be part of the issue, the solution to the problem. But I see that they will rather go and lobby the MP rather than going to the lawyer.
Coalition of aggrieved men's gold customers demand parliamentary probe into the closure of the company and the role of the Securities and Exchange Commission to push for payment of their locked-up funds.
It did not follow the due process in shutting down. That's why we are saying that. That's why we are calling for an investigation into the closure, because we believe that something went amiss.
Also coming up on Joy News Prime, beneficiaries of the Livelihood Empowerment Program LEAP cry for the release and increment in their allowance.
Life is tough for me. There are days I stay indoors and cry. There are too many problems. Living alone is tough. So think about living with all these children. It's tough.
And in business, mobile money contributes 250 million cedis to tax revenue in 2020. We'll hear from the Chamber of Telecommunications as the telecoms industry total revenue hits 3.6 billion cedis.
Today, they are not cash cows, and then you also cannot call them MNOs or telcos in that sense. For me, they are one word, and that's the way I like to call them. They are development partners.
Hello there, my name is Ernest Mino, and Joy News Prime is coming to you live from our studios at Fanofa in Kokomlemle, Accra. We are on your digital TV because we are free to air. DSTV channel 421, GoTV 144. This is your home of independent, fearless, credible and impactful journalism. Stay tuned. Tonight, government has responded to calls by experts to halt the exportation of food. This follows the hikes in foodstuff on the market caused by the non-availability of some produce. The General Agric Workers Union, the Peasant Farmers Association and the Chamber of Agric have all expressed worry about the situation, saying it could worsen by the first quarter of 2022. They want government to assist with funding, stop the exportation of food and ensure we build and fill our storage facilities. Let's hear from the CEO of the Chamber of Agric, Anthony Morrison.
There shouldn't be any allowance for export of any food. If for any reason someone needs to export food out of the country, that must come with approval from the ministry. And the reasons must be given. I'm saying this because some of the challenges we are having with the increase in food prices is because people have hoarded food. If you go to the borderlines, in the northern regions, in the BA area, in the Volta area, you've seen a number of warehouses that have sprung up. Foodstuffs were taken out of the country arbitrarily without any permission. We do not have any security system. Nobody is being stopped. Why are you taking this food out of this country? Who has signed for it? Who has permitted you? And these foodstuffs have been stored in those border towns, and they are now being imported back into the country and be sold to us at a very high prices. So we need to take some such measures to curb any export of food items out of this country. For early part of next year, we're going to have challenges with our food systems. So we will need to import quite more. What government needs to do is to make sure that when this year's produce are ready, we provide a mop-up strategy so that we can store enough food across the country.
So what does the data say about our export of food? The Joy Research Desk has done some work on it. Let me share that with you. And so we'll start with some food crops. We'll start with maize. Rice here. Let's start with maize. And so with maize in the year 2015, we exported 11,015 metric tons. And so all the figures here you're seeing are in metric tons. We exported 11,000 metric tons of maize in the year 2015. In the year 2016, it came down slightly to 10,909 metric tons of maize. In the year 2017, it went up, and you could see the difference sharply by 19,666. Then it went up again in the year 2018. We exported 23,483 metric tons of maize. It came down in the year 2019. We did 14,128. But in the year 2020, we exported more maize, and so it went up to 17,240. And shortly we'll be taking you to the market to hear what the traders have been saying about the availability of maize. Mind you, in the year 2020, we exported more. Now, when you look at rice, we did in the year 2015 3,400 metric tons. It came down to 2016. In the year 2016, came down to 3,066. It went up in the year 2017 to 3,671. In the year 2018, it came down slightly to 3,527. But it dropped totally in the year 2019. From 3,000, it came down to 759 metric tons, and then went down further in the year 2020. So why is the export of rice declining? We'll find out shortly, and we're speaking to the experts who have raised concern about the exportation of some of these produce. Again, let's look at yam, and yam is quite an important staple here in the country. In the year 2015, we did 2,489 metric tons, went up to 10,503 in the year 2016. In 2017, went up again to 13,352. It went up further in the year 2018, 24,667. Went up again 2019. We did 29,078, and then went up again in the year 2020, 31,127. So if you look at the trend, we have seen an upward, there's an upward trend in terms of the export of yam. 2020 hitting a record of 31,127 metric tons. Let's look at plantain, and this has been quite controversial. You have heard the Agric Minister talk about surpluses we've recorded in the last few years. Let's see what the data says. So in the year 2015, we did 16,052. In 2016, 21,459. In the year 2017, it went up again to 40,935. It then went up again in the year 2018 to 43,802. And so from the year 2015 to 2018, we've been exporting more plantain, if you look at this data. But then it begins to drop from the year 2019. And so you realize that from 43,802, we did 40,190. And then drops further in the year 2020 to 20,667. Let's look at soybean. Soybean, 2,198. It comes down slightly in the year 2016. It goes up in the year 2017. Goes up slightly, marginally, in the year 2018, and then drops in the year 2019. From 3,000, we recorded 830. This is metric tons of export of soybean, and then to 2020 dropping further. So this is the general outlook of export of major staple. That's between the year 2015 and 2020 to neighboring countries. And this is the context. This is the exports we've done to neighboring countries. So you see an upward trend from 2015 to the year 2018. But then it begins to drop from 2018 down to 2020. So from 99,054, it comes down to 70,052. What is accounting for this? We'll go into that shortly. So let's go on to Zoom now and speak to Edward Karewa, who is the General Secretary of the Agric Workers Union. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on Joy News Prime. So the data we have seen show that exports have been on the decline already. And in at least the last 3 years, we have not experienced any massive shortage, food shortage. Are you not blowing this out of proportion? So we seem to have lost connection to Edward Karewa there, who is on Zoom. We'll re-establish contact with him. But let me take you to the market. Well, my colleague Israel Lai took his microphone to the Malamata market here in Accra, and here's what the traders told him.
Food security.
How regularly do you come to the market?
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. So you buy enough to last you 2 weeks?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so you go ahead and you buy your palm nut.
Yeah. What shop, mommy? I don't know why. Me told you about
yeah.
Okay. Now it's so. Anna, baby, I'm yan.
And say so na to me ti abenu. Hey, so to ti abenu. Esi sa. Ko be bia sa.
Baby, I'm yan 8 cedis. From me.
Okay, so it's 8 cedis now, but how much was it being sold previously?
It was 5 cedis.
How long ago?
Oh, a month ago.
Okay, so in this case, she's explaining that it has to do because because it's raining.
Yeah.
What does the rain have to do with the shortage of abenkwan?
So at day tinama so then so na yitinama.
Abenemu. Nsuo to ayentimi mfuru abe. Nsuo to ofuru aba owo wan hwe obeka. Nti nsuo bi ato a onko afum. Makuma ko na etimi konu abe. Emiti na ma abe.
Eso to na ma abe no hwa.
Okay, so the explanation is that when it's raining, they typically wouldn't climb to harvest the palm nut because they're saying that it's there may be snakes on the palm nut tree. So that's why you tend to get this experience where the palm nut or the price of palm nut will go up when it's raining. So all right.
Enum 10 cedi. Enum 10 cedis.
So they say the very big ones, 5 for 10 cedis.
I can see enum 10 cedis. And I get one so me and son and 9. And enum also 5 cedis.
Naturally say I can see no.
I can see 5.
Makuma 5.
5.
And I 10 cedis. And I get one
so it be a 4. It be a 3.
And no 5 cedis.
5 cedis.
I want to see my car. 7 of my and that's be Sacrana.
Me packers here.
No packers.
Ain't no better summer.
I ain't in the Matty Swam. Now, some in the South of Korea, Juman, dear. Mashamo. Now, so the year Juma.
Okay. And you may talk, I can see no 10 cedis.
Okay, so it looks like she's going to get a nice deal from the plantain. So how many pieces are those? All right, so she's making it 6 for 10 cedis. Oh, it's 6, I checked. And I'll bet so back one
Now, so that is what Israel Lai found here in Accra, the Malamata market. Edward Karewa is the General Secretary of the Agric Workers Union, and he joins us again via Zoom. Mr. Karewa, thank you for joining us. And so I shared some data, and I believe you were following. The data shows that our export has declined. Has been declining in the last few years, at least the last 3 years. And we have not experienced any major food shortage, at least in the last 2-3 years. Are you not blowing this out of proportion as far as the exportation of our food crop is concerned?
Well, let me say that we are picking this information from the ministry itself. If the ministry is explaining that the increase of foodstuff, the price in foodstuffs, is as a result of the exports, then what do you have to do? The logical conclusion is that then reduce the exports. So we are making all this analysis based on the ministry's own information. So if it turns out that exports have been declining, then it means that the ministry has been giving false information to the public, claiming that it is as a result of exports that we are experiencing the recent rise in food prices. So it means there's a different reason.
Well, that is just one out of the reasons they give, except that, Mr. Karawe, those of you in the agric sector, the Agricultural Workers Union, the Peasant Farmers Association, and the Agric Chamber, the Chamber of Agric, have highlighted the issue of exports as the most pressing issue as far as the situation we have at our hand is concerned.
We gave two reasons. One of them is about exports. And we arrived at the constraining of exports as a measure because the ministry consistently told us that it is as a result of exportation of foodstuffs within the year that has led to shortage of foodstuffs in the market, thereby raising the price to the level that is unsustainable or is undesirable. If that is the reason, then of course we are asking them that the solution is to constrain export.
Okay. Well, stay with me, Mr. Karawe. The Deputy Minister for Agric, Yafrimpong, I beg your pardon, says government will halt food exports to avert any crisis. Let's listen to him.
Security is national security. So it is everybody's responsibility to ensure that we have food in the system, the availability of it, and then the pricing too should be affordable. That is all what everybody is striving for. The situation has arisen as a result of several factors. And these factors include the global economic situation in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic that affected even the production of fertilizers and the supply of these fertilizers, transportation of these fertilizers to our country. And then secondly, the government also, because of revenue shortfalls, had challenges with payment to fertilizer suppliers. And this actually affected agricultural production in this country. But notwithstanding, the little that we had, we lowered our guard a little bit. We felt that we had enough, so our neighboring countries kept transporting our food products across the borders. Before we could say Jack, we were running into shortages. And because of the droughts that occurred in the second half of last year, the production levels were not as high as the previous years. So as we did not protect the little that we had, and we, on our blind side, we allowed these things to go until we got to know that, no, this thing must stop, that the minister put a stop to all these things. We were doing very well until that time. But we've learned a lot of lessons from it. And just as the earlier speakers were talking about, we are no longer going to lower our gas this time. The harvest that we are going to have this year, both the minor season and then the major season in the southern sector.
So, Mr. Karawe is still with us on Zoom. Mr. Karawe, you had the Deputy Agric Minister there. Government has responded to your pleas, and they have said that as part of measures, aside the measure they are taking to, halt the exportation of food, they are also going to ensure that they fill our storage facilities, get the buffer stock, ready to harvest what we are going to have in the next season. Is that enough to stem the tide? You'd have to unmute Mr. Karawe.
Yeah, I think I am now clear.
Yes, so let's hear
understand.
Yeah.
I'm saying that it's not exactly the case. Look, the buffer stock company has a clear policy of what they are there to do. Objective. One, they cannot force any farmer to sell their produce to them. Neither can they compete with the market price because they don't have those resources. So the buffer stock company purposely is to mop up excess produce which cannot be disposed of in the market. So if this time they want to now say that, okay, we would give so much money to the buffer stock company to be able to compete with the market, open market prices, to buy the produce, fine. But we are already aware that the buffer stock company itself is constrained with cash and resources to do what they are saying they will do. So I'm not too clear whether they now have the money suddenly to give the buffer stock company to be able to buy at the open market price. Otherwise, the buffer stock company only comes in when there's surplus, and that surplus cannot be sold in the market. Then they now come in to mop up that.
Mr. Kariwa, we'll end it here because of time. This conversation has just started. We'll follow up with more on these issues later in our subsequent bulletins. Away from that, former president of the Ghana Bar Association, Sam Okudzeto, has backed claims that public confidence in the Ghana Bar Association has hugely declined. Lawyer Okudzeto argues that the desire of the leadership of the bar is to use their position for personal gains than seeking democratic accountability. His comments come on the back of an open letter from a group involving lawyers and non-lawyers asking the association to use the ongoing bar conference to work on redeeming the sinking image of the association. My colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson joins us via Zoom with details of that open letter. Kwesi, what are they saying in that letter?
So, Ernest, according to the group, over the course of our longest democratic era, and now he's making the point about the Ghana Bar Association. Now, it continues to say that we are pained to see that the Ghana Bar Association has lost the fire in its belly and its role as the guardian of the little person. The association we love has lost its voice and its fire. It has lost its desire to fight for democratic accountability. We have allowed our light dim so low that we have disappeared as protectors of our democracy. Again, our disengagement has been felt. Our indolence has allowed illegality, abuse of rights, and injustice to fester. The Ghana Bar Association today looks like a pale shadow of itself. The moral weight of its history now stands devalued by successive leadership that have given the association little sense of purpose or direction. Not only does our history indict us, but our presence now counts only as proof of how much we have defamed this association and made cheap its promise to concern itself with the defense and upholding of freedom and justice in Ghana. So these are excerpts of the statements.
Kwesi, thank you very much for bringing us those details. You have been speaking to the former president of the Ghana Bar Association, Sam Okudzeto, on this development. What has he been saying?
I'm not happy with the current state of the Ghana Bar Association. He made the point that at the time he was the president of the association, they were very vocal. Today, we are not seeing that. And it appears that most of the leadership of the association are rather into their personal gains than rather standing for justice. So we can listen to him when I spoke to him earlier.
Well, let's put it this way. There is so much concern about individuals. There is a lot of individualism that has crept into both the professions and also to the democratic process itself, where people are more concerned about themselves as opposed to looking at the general welfare of the people.
So is that what you see at the bar, that people are
it's
using their position for personal gain?
No, I'm not saying they are using their position. What I want to say is that many lawyers are now preoccupied with how much money they can make, rather than looking at the concept of justice. You know, I spent over 20 years teaching at the law school, and my emphasis to them is to say that, look, in this whole wide world, why will God choose you to be a lawyer? There must be a purpose for it. And what is the purpose? I say you are God's instrument for justice. God has chosen you and ordained you to be an instrument or a vessel for justice. So don't talk about money, because the money is not the issue. Money is a reward, and God will reward you. Not with plenty of money, as so many of them mistakenly believe, but He'll make you make at least a living. And that's all you require, because after all, let's put it this way. If you have plenty of money, so what?
So would you say that from what you said, the public confidence in the association, has it declined?
Well, the public confidence in association is because the public itself is also the same mentality that I'm talking about. Is to say that now is a time like this is a time for the politicians. So people are in politics, and they're in politics because they want to be regarded as important. And then of course there are certain perquisites that follow from that. So all of us are concerned about self. The concept of selflessness, which I believe that is the mark of a leader, or what a leadership is meant to be, is waning away. So this is the danger that all of us are in. So it's not just the bar.
But how about the public confidence in the bar to seek justice and democratic accountability?
Well, yeah, the public, if the public will even rely on the lawyers, you understand, to be the vessel for justice, that at least will even be part of the issue, the solution to the problem. But I see that they will rather go and lobby the MP rather than going to the lawyer.
Beneficiaries of the Livelihood Empowerment Program, LEAP, are asking the government to release the grants immediately. They are paid between 64 and 106 cedis, an amount that has already been criticized as inadequate. Meanwhile, the beneficiaries say their woes have deepened as the recent delays in the bi-monthly payments have brought hardships on some of them. My colleague Justice Bedu has been out to meet some of them.
Jamestown, British Accra, serene and yet one of Accra's most populated suburbs.
British Accra is one of the oldest inner cities in Ghana. In places like this, cases of high unemployment, low educational attainment, and issues with housing challenges mean poverty levels are high. And it is in places like this that social interventions like the Livelihood Empowerment Program comes in critical.
The Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty Program is a cash transfer aimed at cushioning people at the very bottom of the income ladder in Ghana, mainly disabled, aged, and sick people. It is in Jamestown that Nicolina Ama lives. She's a single parent with 4 children and is a caregiver for a 90-year-old woman. She is a LEAP beneficiary and gets paid a little over 60 cedis every 2 months.
Very, very difficult. Sometimes
life is tough for me. There are days I stay indoors and cry. There are too many problems. Living alone is tough. So think about living with all these children. It's tough. Very tough. It's tough. Very tough.
Good children.
Nicolina has been hoping that the amount from the LEAP program would be increased so she could reinvest in her dressmaking business.
This man, tobacco. No. I'm waiting for it.
This month, the money has delayed. We are waiting for it. But sometimes we are called that the money is coming. So this month too, we are waiting for the call that the money is coming.
We are expecting it this month. It wasn't last month too. Last 2 months we collected it. So we are expecting something this month. It makes it 2 months, 2 months. You see. But one thing I could say is, if the money is trying to keep, normally it doesn't happen.
We are about 38.
Mercy Okine, herself a caregiver on the program, is also a community leader here in Jamestown. She has consistently spoken about a need to increase the amount of money paid to beneficiaries.
The money is not enough to take care of the ladies. So if they want increment, yeah, we want. If I say they want, we want increments, because you see the situation and the problems on the ground. That one will not do anything. Though it's supporting, it can't take care of you totally.
Our attempt to get answers from the LEAP Secretariat has been unsuccessful, as beneficiaries continue to sit in a long, painful wait. Justice Beidou, Joy News, Jamestown.
My name is Ernest Mino and this is Joy News Prime. Still to come, coalition of aggrieved Men's Gold customers demand parliamentary probe into the closure of the company and the role of the Securities and Exchange Commission to push for payment of their locked-up funds.
SEC did not follow the due process in shutting down. That's why we are saying that. That's why we are calling for an investigation into the closure, because we believe that something went amiss.
And coming up in business, mobile money contributes 250 million cedis to tax revenue in 2020. We'll hear from the Chamber of Telecommunications as the telecoms industry's total revenue hits 3.6 billion cedis.
Today, they are not cash cows, and then you also cannot call them MNOs or telcos in that sense. For me, they are one word, and that's the way I like to call them. They are development partners.
Welcome to Business. I'm Charles Aite. Tax collection for mobile money operations amounted to 250 million cedis last year. Now, this is according to a report by the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications. At the same time, the telecom industry's total tax revenue to government hit 3.6 billion cedis in 2020, making it one of the biggest contributing sectors to government revenue. The head of research and communications at the Chamber, Derek Lai, has been speaking at a knowledge forum by the Chamber on taxation.
According to the Ghana Telecommunications Chamber, the amount of 250 million cedis is separate from other taxes that the government collects from telecommunication firms. Head of research, Derek Lai, therefore argues that the sector cannot be overburdened with direct taxes on mobile money services since it is already paying such huge amount to government. The chamber believes any direct tax on mobile money transactions will make it counterproductive.
Necessity. In fact, the UN calls it a human right to actually be able to be connected. So if you are taxing something that is a necessity, like something that is a luxury, obviously that calls questions that requires policy relook at the tax structure within the ecosystem. And then more importantly, I'll just end by saying that today they are not cash cows, and then you also cannot call them MNOs or telcos in that sense. For me, they are one word, and that's the way I like to call them. They are development partners. And it's important that government begins to see them in that sense, because if you have an industry that can collect taxes from close to 400,000 people.
Speaking at the same event, manager of tax audit at auditing and accounting firm KPMG, Gordon Dade, called for a collaboration between government and the telcos to share costs for tax collection purposes. According to him, this could be part of the digital drive to increase domestic revenue.
A lot of put a lot of digital investment. So you see our vice president going now every time talking about what government is doing with the NIA, talking about NHIS and other investment that is going in the sector. Can government partner the telcos so that there's a cost sharing arrangement? How can government partner the telcos to ensure that these investments are not just done on one side? So government is doing something, the telcos are also doing something. But can we come together and have an agreement and have a unitized process to this investment so that there's a cost sharing arrangement? And if you're also able to identify people that you can tax, then there's some sort of tax sharing that can also go on. Now, in our income tax law, or even in the VAT, there is that provision that talks about how to tax non-resident providing telecommunication services in Ghana. And now this particular provision has a very, great challenge. There's been so much challenge with the implementation.
Meanwhile, the chamber has declared its support to government in raising domestic revenue.
Now, government has been charged to do more through digital means to increase significantly the country's revenue mobilization. According to the Managing Director of Strategic Mobilization Limited, Christian Soti, government must strive to collect adequate taxes from the informal sector. Though government has implemented some strategies to ensure tax compliance, Mr. Soti, who is a former Controller and Accountant General, believes the best way to complement government effort of increasing revenue is to ensure that businesses in the informal sector do not evade tax payment going forward. He spoke to Joy Business.
If you look at the tax regime, we really have a fundamental problem, which I believe is being addressed now. Our economy, as the economists always tell us, is 80% is the informal sector and 20% formal sector. Meanwhile, the formal sector pays about 90% of the revenue, the taxes, whilst the informal sector, which is 80%, pays only less than 10% of our revenue. It means the chunk of the economy is not paying taxes. And we will need to be able to address our revenue fall and to match other economies in our revenue tax to GDP, then we need to bring in more people into the tax net. And I believe that that is being done by addressing the issue of national identification. We are now addressing addressing system, and I believe when all these things are put in place, we will be able to now bring many people into the tax net.
Well, the Trade and Industry Minister, Alan Kyerematen, is calling on the U.S. government to begin negotiations with Ghana and the rest of the African continent on the way forward after the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act program, which is AGOA, which enables African countries to export items, including textiles, to the U.S. on duty-free, quota-free basis, is expected to expire in the next 4 years. But Mr. Kyerematen wants the U.S. to start consultation and engagement with Ghana and the rest of the continent for probable programs. He was speaking during the 2021 U.S.-Ghana Business Forum organized by the American Chamber of Commerce.
I would say that trade and investment between our two countries have not yet reached the levels that would reflect this long-standing friendship and fraternal relations. In my view, however, we have now reached a major turning point in U.S.-Ghana relations. And therefore, this year's forum could not have come at a better time. And I say so based on a number of strategic considerations. First, there's a new U.S. administration in office. I'm not quite sure whether they have fully unveiled their strategy for Africa. But we all know that AGOA was the first landmark legislation in the United States on U.S.-Africa trade and investment relations. AGOA is set to expire in 2025.
Well, that'll be it for Business with me, Charles Aite. But still to come, the Ghana Football Association will, in the next 48 hours, appoint a new head of coach of the Black Stars following the dismissal of CK Akono on Monday. We have more in sport with Hans Benter Ando. Do stay for that.
Many thanks for staying with us. The Ghana Football Association will, in the next 48 hours, appoint a new head coach of the senior national team, the Black Stars, following the dismissal of CK Akono on Monday. My colleague Charles Macaros has been taking a close look at the likely candidate to replace the former Hearts and Kotoko coach.
The decision follows incessant calls from the media and general public for the ousting of the 47-year-old coach after consistent poor performances from CK Akono's Black Stars. Here is a Joy Sports list of potential managers who could lead the Black Stars for the next World Cup qualifiers, as well as Cameroon's edition of the Africa Cup of Nations set to take place from January next year. Silas Tete. This is a man many will suggest has been due the role for more than 10 years now. The 64-year-old led current Black Stars captain Andrew Ayew and a host of other talents like Ajiman Bedu and Jonathan Mensah to lift the Under-20 World Cup in Egypt. Kwesi Appiah is another with littered Black Stars history, serving as manager and assistant to Milovan Rajevac and Goran Stefanovic respectively. His first appointment as Black Stars head coach came in 2012, where he managed 28 games. He won 15 games and lost 8. Otu Addo. The 46-year-old served as chief scout for Ghana from 2013 to 2015. That serves as his only local responsibility, but he is rich in European experience. His first and only head coach responsibility came at Hamburg's Under-19 youth setup. Milovan Rajevac. The name of the Serbian will probably be the most popular amongst Ghana's football community. The Serb was the leading brain behind Ghana's exploit at the 2010 World Cup. He served as Black Stars head coach for 2 years and was in charge of 28 games. George Boateng. He arguably poses as the least experienced in this list, still waiting for a senior managerial appointment. However, he has picked up experience from Malaysia and boasts of English football experience after serving as assistant manager for Aston Villa's Under-18 team between 2019 and 2020. Other expatriates who have also been linked to the job are Italian coach Francesco Guidolin, former Borussia Dortmund boss Lucien Favre, longtime Pep Guardiola assistant Dominic Torrent, and Frenchman Alain Giresse. Time will tell who becomes the next coach of the Black Stars.
Now, Randy Abbey, who heads a 3-man committee tasked to choose the next Black Stars coach, insists the Black Stars deserve a tactically, ingenious trainer.
In my view, a coach's role, really, one is about having a strategy for a game, calling up players, deploying players according to a strategy for the game, decision making in the course of the game. Key.
So it's a leadership role.
Yeah, key. So let's say you're going to play Zimbabwe, home and away. You obviously will study your opponents, and that will inform how you want to approach the game. Then you call up players. The players you call up must be informed by how you want to approach the game. The players you deploy, that's your actual selection, must inform that. And then in the course of the game, many things can happen, because a lot of decisions you make throughout the game are assumptions. In the course of the game, some of the assumptions might not work out. And that is where the tactical ingenuity of coaches come to play. You understand me? So your strategy, the call-up, the deployment, decision making in the course of the game. That's what makes one make a coach.
Bring more sports later in the bulletin. That's it for now.
And Becky is here with the latest in the world of showbiz. Hello, Becky.
Hello to you, Ernest.
You were telling me something just before you came on air.
Yeah, I was telling you how cute you look.
Thank you.
Black.
Thank you.
You heard that, right?
I heard that. Thank you. What do you have for us?
So earlier this afternoon, the tourism minister, Mr. Mohammed Awal, sworn in an 11-man board members for the tourism ministry, or into the tourism ministry board. Okay. And these people are supposed to work towards making the sector the #1 contributor to Ghana's GDP. Here is what's expected of them.
Our vision is to make, and within the next 3 years,
tourism, arts, and culture should be #1 contributor to Ghana's GDP. We don't want to negotiate that. It means that we must have in excess of $5 billion every year from tourism receipts from 2022. It's very clear. I have signed that contract to the president, and the board must help me achieve that. To do that, we need to look at various scenarios. Domestic tourism should be very, very key. Please, board, help build a culture of travel within Ghana. We don't have a culture of traveling. Before the pandemic, just about 600,000 people were traveling within a year in Ghana. We think that progressively we can have 1 million people traveling every year. Work as a team. We can achieve that. We need to create 1 million jobs from tourism over the next 3 years again, along the tourism value chain, to make Ghana the most preferred tourism destination in West Africa. We are now #3, next to Senegal and Gambia. Ghana cannot afford to be next to Senegal and Gambia in terms of tourism. We are the most peaceful nation in West Africa. We have unique tourist attractions, forts, castles, festivals. Let's see how we can improve on them. Issues at GTA, communication issues, promotions, etc. Look at it. Please, chairman and board members, we shall not tolerate antagonism with GTA board. You are there, policy issues, support them. I don't want a conflict between the board and the management. No, we will not take that. Work together as a team to achieve the president's goal of making tourism #1 to Ghana's GDP.
We've talked about food, we haven't talked about music. Have you sampled some of the songs that we have in Ghana?
I'm really enjoying Ghanaian music, okay. Yeah. My kids and my husband and I can be caught dancing around the kitchen as we're getting food ready. It's impossible to keep your feet still, yeah.
Okay, and you're able to, move quite well to the beat?
No. This is why it's in my kitchen and not in public.
But any popular songs that you've picked up so far?
So one of my highlights, I don't know if you've seen on Twitter, we had a wellbeing day for our excellent High Commission team yesterday, and the comms team put together a super video with music by Sarkodie. So that's a current favourite at the moment.
Thank you very much, Becky, for bringing us the latest in the world of showbiz. We have more stories for you, don't go. Thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. The coalition of aggrieved customers of Men's Gold is demanding a parliamentary probe into the closure of Men's Gold and the role played by the Securities and Exchange Commission. And it's been exactly 3 years since the SEC ordered the closure of the gold dealership firm. An Interpol red alert was issued for the arrest of CEO of the company, Nana Appiah Mensah, aka Nam1, who is currently facing criminal prosecution. From one demonstration to the other, the aggrieved customers say they've lost hope in government's commitment to help them retrieve their monies. Manuel Cranton reports.
My money is over 300,000 Ghana cedis. Now, because of this, my junior brother has to stop his schooling. My children, their school fee, because my husband's money too is there. It was an investment we saw over 5 years.
Abena is a mother of 3 who kept all her life savings in defunct gold dealership firm, Men's Gold. She is agitated over government's seeming disinterest in helping customers retrieve their locked-up funds. It's been 3 years since the Securities and Exchange Commission ordered the closure of the firm, which traded in gold collectibles. The pinch of the closure is felt most by the customers in various ways.
I was having a severe pains on the eye, but I was using that during time I was working and other stuff, so I used to buy medication, go to...
Since the company collapsed, 35-year-old Stephen Abuaje has not only lost his job as a brand's promotion consultant, but he's lost his sight also.
Go to hospital, checkups and other stuff. So the thing came severe, so I supposed to go to hospital and they transferred me to Korle Bu. So as they transferred me to Korle Bu, they told me that surgery was not made. They cannot do it at Korle Bu unless India. So I asked the bill and we checked everything. So I thought I would get money to India for the surgery. I tried my best. I'm there living and then the eye just went off. Right now, I don't know what to do because I don't have any place to go again. And nowadays, I don't have money to rent anymore. So I used to live with my chama's house, with my wife, yes, and my boy. I have one kid.
Several demonstrations against embattled Men's Gold CEO Nana Appiah Mensah, aka Nam1, have not been successful in getting the monies released. Even though Nam1 is facing criminal prosecution over the matter, the customers say it is just a decoy to prevent them from getting their monies. Fred Forson speaks for the customers.
Go to court for 3 years. In fact, as we speak, there is no charge against Nam1. As we speak. Because the initial 61 or 62 charges that were preferred against him were dropped. And so the prosecution says, we are doing investigation, we have dropped, we want to increase, we want to change the charge as we speak. So now one is walking free, he only reports at the CID every Wednesday within a week or something.
They want Parliament to institute a bipartisan probe into the closure of Men's Gold and facilitate the retrieval of their locked up funds.
We have learned through the letters that SEC did not follow the due process in shutting down. That's why we are saying that. That's why we are calling for an investigation into the closure. Because we believe that something went amiss. Something really went amiss. And very soon the truth will come out. So that's why we are urging Parliament. Yes, let them in court play the dilly-dallying with the case, the criminal matter. But let's look at the civil issue. The civil matter is key.
For now, all they have is to look on as their investments continue to be locked away. Manuel Cranting, Joy News, Accra.
The Ghana Journalists Association is asking the Ghana Police Service to act swiftly in the investigation and prosecution of some members of the Glorious Word Power Ministries who assaulted journalists after the arrest and subsequent remand of Prophet Owusu Bempah. These members, according to our reporter, also prevented some journalists from entering the courtroom. Others were physically attacked at the court premises.
Na ne atwa men so mun say ye pie na omu wie case na Reverend Owusu Bempah sorry for ehwie nsu etu nsu ogu so obi be bo me wo gate ya no ha main gate ya no ha obi fie akire baaye be do me ka chem say me enche mewu simply say me twa Owusu Bempah video asori ma ekeka nsam di atem
me side in there one guy be oba no the paper no the cover say na be me ya no nti me say ontwe ho kakra na church members no too go me so ye so me camera mu ebu no say be say no etu so go me so bakon hit me chest say on my kwan na even sexy don crambo at the quarter prisoners cell on say you call no interview na ono papa no here almost for na here nti one police for na mboa police for na mboa said they should rather protect us say ebia this is the issue.
So no police for ye dwen say omo no eye ya dan fofo anka ye betumi aben omo a etumi atwa ye visuals no omo so ma mpene enti ho no e na eye asorefo no e piapia ye bobo eye nsemchefo ni bi e say aden na omo pese omo twa eye omo sofo no.
So the GJA in a statement condemns the act with all the vehemence it can muster, describing it as an affront to press freedom and demands swift justice against the uncouth men of Owusu Bempah. The statement reads that on Friday, March 15, 2019, Owusu Bempah stormed the premises of the Radio XYZ in the company of 4 gun-wielding thugs in search of a radio presenter at the station. In the process, the administrator and staff of the station were molested. It says also that nothing punitive happened to Owusu Bempah. On December 13, 2018, the same man of God had apparently been driven by red-hot anger to vandalize equipment of Hot FM. He walked a free man thereafter. It is needless to note that Osu Bempah and his followers did and said anything with careless abandon and naked impunity until the air of untouchability surrounding them was punctured with the latest arrest. While the landmark trial travels its full throttle, we urge the law and other community. We urge the law and order community not to allow the latest attacks against journalists to be overshadowed by the dominant case or swept under the carpet. Justice must manifestly and expeditiously be done the victims to amplify the message that no one is indeed above the law. And this is signed by Afel Moni, president of the GJA. Moving on, city authorities have demolished a 20% land size of the Kumasi Central Market as part of the construction of the second phase of the Kejetia redevelopment project. A construction firm working on the project constructor requested a portion for construction of the drainage system. Affected traders initially resisted the evacuation, claiming the city authorities had not given them space for their relocation.
The demolition of the section of the Kumasi Central Market started at midnight. An excavator drives through the empty shops and shelves for the demolition. The volume of debris on the grounds indicates the workload ahead. Workers of the construction company were visible at the site to supervise the operation. Consultant for contractor Emmanuel Danso says the acquired land area is to ensure construction of an efficient drainage system to avert flooding after project's completion.
It's part of the 100% that we were looking for. We have already had 80. Now the additional 20 has been released, and that is what we are doing now. The main reason why we need this additional area in order for us to check all the drainage system. Though we might not have them all, but we'll do our best to manage and get it clear.
The exercise was carried out smoothly without the involvement of the security forces.
Now, a survey by the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources indicates that 51% of households in the Ashanti region do not have toilet facilities. To help improve the situation, the World Bank has provided $50 million to fund the construction of toilet facilities for low-income households. The Greater Kumasi Sanitation and Water Project is to improve sanitation in the region. There's more in the following report.
8 metropolitan and municipal assemblies in the Ashanti region will benefit from the Greater Kumasi Sanitation and Water Project. Eligible low-income households will be supported with 70% of the cost of the household toilet to make the capital cost of accessing the toilet facilities affordable. The Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources, Cecilia Abnadapa, addressed a workshop in Kumasi.
Of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has secured financing from the World Bank. So the figure for Kumasi is $50 million to replicate the successful Greater Accra Metropolitan Area Sanitation Water Project in Greater Kumasi, which is the second largest city in Ghana. This project, just like the Greater Kumasi, just like Greater Accra, has had to deal with sanitation challenges. So we are grateful to God and to government for this project that has hit the Greater Kumasi area.
The 4-year project will kick off on October 15 to be completed by December 31, 2024. Project coordinator for Greater Kumasi Sanitation and Water Project, Engineer George Siedu, is urging households to visit their respective assemblies to register to benefit from the project.
We are all poised to take off, and the household toilet in particular is likely to start by the 15th of October. But as I'm talking to you, everybody hearing my voice can visit their individual municipal assemblies and then write their names and details in the assembly. They shouldn't pay any money yet, but then they will be called to come and pay money on the mobile money platform that will be provided. The platform is not activated yet, but we hope that by the 15th of October, that platform will be activated. But you can still go and then register your interest.
The biodigester toilet, according to Mr. Siedu, can last for 5 years. The fecal matter, when treated, can be sold to farmers as manure.
It is likely to take 5 years if only 10 people are using it. This one, you only need a wheelbarrow and just scoop off the digested sludge. It is like in the form of a manure. Another business is going to come out of it, where more people can get to the ground and move from house to house to help people to dislodge them using wheelbarrows.
The project is implemented by the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources through its project coordinating unit. For Joy News, Anita Sewajuges reports.
Central Regional Command of the Police Service is appealing to transport unions in the region to work on the psyche of commercial drivers who use the roads to reduce the speed and unnecessary overtaking. Now, he says the frequent accident cases on the roads in the region, especially that of the Accra-Cape Coast Highway, could easily be avoided if the drivers are made to understand the value of the lives they carry. Now, the commander was speaking at the stakeholders engagement organized by the Central Regional Security Council. Richard Kojonyako has more in the following report.
The Central Regional Security Council called the meeting to address the spate of road accidents in the region. The region has been recording huge statistics as far as accidents are concerned. Of particular mention is the frequency of accidents on the Cape Coast Accra stretch of the road. Many have attributed them to the negligence on the part of drivers. Central Regional Police Commander DCOP Kwejo Entwitebi is asking transport union leaders to hold daily briefings for the drivers before they start work every day.
I want to plead with everybody here, especially the transport union executives, to talk to the drivers of the commercial vehicles who are most of the time in a hurry to get to their destinations. The point is, if you are in a hurry and, may God forbid, something happens on the road, how do you get to your destination? Some of the big trucks get broken down on the road, and instead of putting the red triangle behind the vehicle to serve as a warning to oncoming vehicles, they will not do it. And so before you realize, in the night, other vehicles run into them, and lo and behold, there is an accident, at times fatal ones. So I want to plead with all of you, especially the transport union executives, to always hold daily briefings. They shouldn't be once a while. There should be daily briefings in the morning to all drivers who are going on the road. And if you do this, it's going to help a lot.
The police commander warned the general public to also bear with the police as they work to sanitize the road.
Another issue is the presence of the police on the road. When the police are on the road, it checks some of these things. That is unnecessary overtaking and overspeeding. But when the police come on the road, the very people we are serving will go on air and complain that the police are wasting their time. And so when the complaint becomes too much, the police administration will send messages to the various regions to stop our men from coming on the road. I know, of course, some of our men are not displaying enough, but we are doing our best to help educate them on how to ensure that they do their work professionally.
Central Regional Minister Justina Marigodasan called on the stakeholders to put their shoulders to the wheel to reduce the rate of accidents in the region.
In the region, there are some areas that has been earmarked as accident-prone areas. There are some signboard indicating there are some curves. So and so people died here. So it's a caution sign that they've put there. So when you're approaching, at least be cautious and then drive carefully, but they will always flout the rules. That education will plead that continuously let's educate the people.
The stakeholders say they will put in place stringent measures to deal with the indiscipline on the road. Reporting for Joy News, Richard Kwejo Nyako, Cape Coast.
Beneficiaries of the Livelihood Empowerment Program, LEAP, as we shared earlier, are asking the government to release their grant. Now, NGO Send Ghana is equally not happy about the delay. They believe government will release the monies to these beneficiaries if it prioritizes making the livelihoods of the poor better. At a news conference in Accra, Deputy Country Director Dr. Emmanuel Efriya said government should rope in the private sector if it is faced with challenges. There's more in the following report by Hannah Odame.
75-year-old Alice Ajoka, who resides in Lower Manyakrobo in the Eastern region, has been waiting for her LEAP money for over 2 months now. This is not the first time. According to her, she does not know who to ask whenever her money delays. She relies on the 64 cedis LEAP allocation, which she gets every 2 months when it's available. Her worry now is how to treat her ailments, which requires lots of money. I am sick and cannot work. I'm also unable to work, so I depend on government for survival. When my allocation for LEAP does not come due to delays, I ask some of my relatives to support me. I am pleading with government. We are his people, so he should please assist us and ensure the monies come on time. Alice's situation does not make NGO Send Ghana happy. They do not understand why authorities of the LEAP program and other social intervention programs do not make life less difficult for beneficiaries.
To join us to collectively urge our government to indeed release funding for LEAP and other pro-poor interventions. We wish to remind the government again that citizens have the right to social protection. Therefore, government should be committed to protecting such rights.
Acknowledging financial challenges that government may be facing in meeting all its social intervention needs, Dr. Eifa recommends a private partnership with government, which he believes will ensure sustainable financing for social protection delivery. He also wants social intervention programs prioritized in the 2022 budget.
And especially that the 2022 budget preparation is underway. We always will have the opportunity and will be speaking directly to the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. We'll present certain things to them, of course, so to highlight what we've been talking about, and the same with the Ministry of Finance.
For Joy News, I am Hannah Odame.
The mother of the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, Hajia Mariama Bawumia, has been laid to rest at Walewale in the Northeast region. Hajia Mariama passed away Monday. The late Hajia Mariama Bawumia died at the age of 82. She has been buried at the same place with her husband, the late Mumuni Bawumia. The National Chief Imam, Sheikh Osman Nur Shabutu, led the Islamic prayers before her burial. The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, was accompanied by elders of the family to pay their last respects before her mortal remains was laid to rest at the family house. Alhaji Suleimana Sapaga, a brother of the late Hajia Mariama Bawumia, said the death of their sister was a shock to the entire family. According to him, the late Hajia Mariama was instrumental in the education of almost the entire family. The national chairman of the NPP, Freddie Blade, the national secretary, John Boedu, the organizer, Samir Uku, and former Northern Regional Minister, Salif Said, and other bigwigs of the NPP were at the burial grounds in Walewale. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a short break. When we return, we have more business and sports for you. Please stay.
In business, the Minister of Energy, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, has charged management of the Electricity Company of Ghana to add cybersecurity task force to its revenue protection measures. He believes the issue of cybersecurity must be considered seriously in the quest to reduce revenue leakages through the use of technology. The minister made the call when he inaugurated the Revenue Protection Task Force set up by ECG to track revenue losses that occur through transmission losses. We have more in this report.
The use of technology has become the new phenomenon for effective delivery in the power sector, especially due to the outbreak of COVID-19. According to Energy Minister Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, persons who consume illegal power also do so through technological means, and therefore there is the need for ECG to act quickly. He therefore called for stiffer punishments for persons who use power illegally in the country.
I do understand that the people have moved on from physical alteration of either the meters and the power lines and things to involved in cyber attacks in your software for payment, that some are not paying as much as they are even billed rightly. So this physical revenue tax force is not enough. They need a complementary cyber security aspect to prevent those who have been billed rightly altering how much they pay at the vendor stations.
The managing director of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Kwame Ajimambudu, in his remarks, assured that the ECG is putting in measures to curb the menace of illegal consumption. He also urged the public not to pay more than 700 cedis as service fee when acquiring meters.
ECG, say ukoji meter, your meters are mienu. Single phase and a three phase. Single phase near 400 cedis. Three phase near.
The policy at ECG is that we have two types of meters, a single phase which costs 400 cedis and three-phase meter which costs 700 cedis. Don't buy more than that. We are doing mystery shopping to arrest all those selling more than that.
Shopping is we send people identify themselves as customers of ECG. No more offices. I said, I instigate. I say, we better bribe.
The task force has been given the mandate to effectively deal with culpable persons engaging in the act to protect the company.
Now, the Bank of Ghana is reminding the public that only universal banks are allowed to undertake foreign currency and forex trading in the country. Now, this was captured in the Central Bank's financial literacy notice outlining some developments in the sector. George Rafi has the rest of the story.
It is not clear for now what might have influenced this notice from the Bank of Ghana, but it has come up in recent times that some institutions other than universal banks were said to be engaged in this practice. One is also not sure how this is said to be contributing to the current pressure on the Ghana cedi, resulting in its depreciation against the US dollar. The notice also outlined the various functions of all the financial institutions under the Bank of Ghana's supervision. That is from universal banks to Susu collectors and credit reference bureaus in the country. It also reminded the public that these forex bureaus were not allowed to sell foreign currencies on the spot market of not more than $10,000 to customers, adding that they are also under no circumstance are supposed to take deposits from the public. For microfinance firms, the Bank of Ghana also reminded them that they are not allowed to lend more than 10% of their net worth and take deposit of not more than 5% of their net worth. The Bank of Ghana did not limit itself only to firms, that is supervisors, as it went ahead to also give details of institutions that come under other regulators like the Securities and Exchange Commission and the National Insurance Commission. Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana has also released a list of firms that are allowed to do business in Ghana, from commercial banks to savings and loans, as well as credit reference bureaus. So if you are in doubt of that institution that you are dealing with, well, you may have to get onto the Bank of Ghana website to carry out your own checks and verification.
Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana insists that the recent policy measures that it introduced help minimize the expected COVID-19 shocks on the banking sector. Universal banks in the country posted strong profits for the end of 2020 and even the first half of this year. However, some have linked this to some internal measures introduced by the banks to deal with the pandemic. Speaking at the Ghana Investment Summit, Governor Dr. Ernest Anderson maintained that the regulatory interventions over the last 2 years cannot be ignored.
Story so far, it's a good one, showing that a lot of the projects that the government committed to implementing, including infrastructure projects, have been completed. The key strategic factories to provide jobs and accelerate the industrialization agenda have been operationalized. Ghana has recently been removed from the Financial Action Task Force grey list, and the Ministry of Finance has signed compact agreements with the various ministers to deliver on the Ghana Cares program. In terms of the consolidation efforts, as I said earlier on, we are continuing to implement prudent macro-fiscal policies, and we continue to remain on track in terms of fiscal stability. We were able to this year issue a foreign currency denominated bond with a zero coupon, and the energy sector has been revamped. Of particular interest is the issue of the robustness of revenue to support the fiscal consolidation effort. And the government has focused on measures that would help to improve domestic resource mobilization. So we think that this is an economy that will continue to show strong growth, although the risks remain in terms of our ability to sustain the progress that have been made with the COVID vaccines. We expect inflation to continue to remain within our target bands, even though we have had some base drift effects due to some of the recent tax adjustments and petroleum price adjustments. But the government is committed to continue to implement prudent macro policies. The government is still interested in ensuring that sustainability as well as financial stability to support the recovery.
Now, the Ghana Chamber of Commerce says its partnership with academic institutions in the country is beginning to yield results as the universities are showing signs of graduates with entrepreneurial skills and mindsets. President of the Chamber, Clement Osei-Amoako, is asking the universities to go entrepreneurial as it's the best way to develop the country. Speaking at the opening of the 9th University's Entrepreneurial and Enterprise Development in Africa Conference at the University of Cape Coast, Ms. Osei-Amoako was of the belief that if the skills of students are properly harnessed, Ghana would be a huge business hub in Africa. Richard Kojonyako has more in this report.
The University of Cape Coast was the event venue for the 9th University's Entrepreneurship and Enterprise Development in Africa Conference. Entrepreneurs from some of the country's universities showcase the product of their skills and to sell their ideas for support by the private sector. Speaking at the opening, President of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce, Clement Osei-Amoako, emphasized the need for the universities to develop the skills of students. He says the collaboration between the academia and industries should be toughened to yield the needed results.
We the Chamber, seeing that as a gap, saw the need to go in bed with most of the universities and see how we can, bridge the gap. We saw that as university, what they do mostly is to produce for the private sector. And you cannot sit somewhere and produce to the private sector when you don't know their needs. And so we are saying that, look, why don't we come together and put our needs together? We'll let them know what we are looking for, and they will build their capacity for us, and so that we have a better Ghana. So of now, what we have done so far, we've had some MOU with some universities in Ghana. We've done UMAT, we've done KNUST. We are also doing it with UCC. And beyond this, we are also signing an MOU with them. That is to say that we will not just come and have a conference and go and sit back. We need to develop our people into the future. And so when we sign, then it means that we have a responsibility to work towards it, and we're going to do that. We are also looking at a situation where we have junior chambers across the universities, where we'll train them when they are in school, just as the beautiful things that we are seeing, build their capacity. And it's not everybody who wants to leave the university and come and work with the government. A lot of people want to work on their own. We need to sit down with the universities and identify those needs and prepare them for the betterment of this country. And that's, I want to tell you, the chamber is ready to do that. And we've done it with some universities, and we are going to do more about that into the future.
CEO of the Ghana Enterprises Agency, Kwasi Yanke-Aye, congratulated the University of Cape Coast for their support in enterprise development. She intimated government was doing a lot to support the small and medium-scale enterprises.
We have focused in line with government's vision and the president's vision to transform the economy into a world-class economy, bringing into mind some of the government's flagship programs, such as the One District, One Factory, which involves industry, and also most importantly, academia, because what people are producing, right, is things that would have to be advanced. And to be able to advance that, we need the universities, the research that is being done. And I'm happy to hear about the research that is also being run by the University of Ghana. We've been able to transform a lot of these micro, small, and medium enterprises. And the importance of the MSME sector in Ghana cannot be underestimated.
Provost of the College of Humanities and Legal Studies at the University of Cape Coast, Professor Erica Mokwando, stated the University of Cape Coast was committed to equipping students with skills and financial support to make them self-employed. Richard Kwejenyako, Joy News, Cape Coast.
That'll be all for business. I'm Charles Ayete. I'll leave you with a summary of international business news this day.
Many thanks for staying with us. Former Ghana striker Prince Tegu has urged the Ghana Football Association to appoint a Serbian coach to replace CK Akono, who was sacked as Black Stars coach on Monday. Tegu, who played under Ratome Dukovic in 2006 and Milovan Rajvac in 2010, has vouched for the competence of Serbian coaches.
It's on course because, Ghanaians always want Ghana to qualify for the World Cup because of the excitement and the way we perform in the World Cup, the previous World Cup. It's like it has become a tournament that everybody wants Ghana to go to the World Cup. So when you win your first game and you lose the second game, it becomes difficult, to qualify. And I believe that what we Ghanaians need to think of, we have certain coaches that we brought them to Ghana that have made us qualify to the World Cup. When it comes to discipline, when it comes to call-up, they don't tolerate any indiscipline in the camp and all those things. They are mostly Serbian coaches. So I prefer if we are going to look for a coach, we need somebody who can be outspoken, who can stick to his words, who can, take a decision that no any GFA member can interfere. These are the kind of coaches we need in Ghana. And like I said before, when it comes to, the tactical play of the body, we are very familiar with 4-4-2. And 4-4-2 makes always Ghana score more than 2-3 goals. But when you are playing a one-top, it becomes difficult. It becomes very difficult. So I think we having a Serbia coach, I've worked with them for some time, and they came to the national team. I was able to work with one person, and I know how strict and disciplined they are. I don't want to talk about the foreign coaches because I don't know much about them, and I've not worked with them.
With the Ghana Football Association set to announce the new Black Stars coach in the next 48 hours, the new gaffer will have his work cut out. Joy Sports believes the new coach will need to deal with the following issues as a matter of urgency. There is more in this Joy Sports editorial.
The curtain has come down on an era. CK Akono's 19-month stint with the Black Stars can be described as a failed experiment. And we're all to blame. The Ghana Football Association, the government, the media, and the fans. We cannot, however, dwell too much on the past, except for the lessons to draw to ensure the mistakes of the last 20 months are not repeated. The first step is the appointment of a new coach. Whoever is appointed will undoubtedly have his hands full, as he must manage a transition aimed at building a team around a crop of young players and a few established names. In this regard, Joy Sports believes the new man must deal with the following pressing challenges to help us forge ahead in the hopes of reclaiming the glories of yesteryear. The first is team building. Young players must be integrated strategically as the older players are phased out. Tactical approach. A distinct style of play should be deployed and must be evident to Ghanaians. Talent identification. A thorough plan stipulating how young talents should be scouted and developed has to be put in place as a matter of urgency. Trust. There must be trust between the coaches, the players, and fans about the football project being implemented. To achieve that, the Ghana Football Association must set realistic targets for the new man, and same must be communicated to the fans. Technical direction. A holistic plan on how to move Ghana football forward, from codes to the youth setup through to senior football. To achieve these 5 T's, key stakeholders, as the government and the Football Association, must limit their involvement in technical decisions, which must be the reserve of the coach and the technical team. We at Joy Sports believe the future of the Black Stars is as bright as ever.
That was a Joy Sports editorial. Meanwhile, Ghanaian football fans, have urged the Ghana Football Association to appoint a competent coach to replace CK Akono.
For us as people that pay tax to the government, it would be good for us going into this AFCON tournament and also in qualification to the World Cup. And then if it's good for us, that means that we are finding a good replacement that is very good than CK Akono. Initially, for me personally, I didn't believe the fact that if you are looking for a local coach in our country, you would have to come in CK Akono with what he left behind at Kumasi Asante Kotoko. So when he was appointed as a coach for the Black Stars, I thought, well, that we could have done better than CK Akono. Looking at the goal that we've set for ourselves as a country going into the World Cup and making sure that within the next AFCON we are supposed to win it after so many years. So if CK has been giving his marching orders, it's a good call. But what will be a disadvantage to us as a country is the fact that we have limited time, about 6 months, to also prepare for the next AFCON, which is in February. That means that the coach that is coming in would have to be experienced. That means that the coach that is coming in would have to know the terrain and how he can also help us in going into the World Cup where we're able to qualify.
I mean, from 2008 to around 2014, before Kwesi Appiah came, the foreigners carried us and we played very well, played in the semi-final of the AFCON for most of the year. So I think that is the way we should go and appoint a foreign coach, because that's the way we've proven that we can play well. what I knew was that football was supposed to be for football people, as some people said. So I'm really surprised as to how there's a lot of government interference, because I knew that anytime government interfered in football activities, the countries were banned. So I'm surprised you are joking with something like this, because there could be an impending FIFA ban if there's that much of interference by politics.
Well, less than 48 hours to go until we have an idea as to who will be leading the Black Stars of Ghana. We'll continue to monitor the terrain, and when it breaks, of course, we'll bring it to you here first on the Joy News channel, also on all our social media platforms. You can, of course, read all the latest at myjoyonline.com/sport. I am Hans Mensando.
And that's it for Joy News Prime. Many thanks for your company. We have more stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Evans Mensah is up next with PM Express. Please stay.